Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing episode number 7 in my series on books I loved to teach. I'm participating in the Pineiro project, where we are reading and discussing all of the works of Claudia Pineiro that have been translated into English. We've just finished reading her novel, Time of the Flies. Throughout the novel, there are these chapters, they're woven all through the book, that simulate the chorus of women in the ancient Greek play Medea by Euripides. So a lot of people in the Pineiro project have decided to also read the Greek play Medea to see what it is that Pineiro was working with and why she was weaving this story into the story of the novel. That got me thinking about how much I used to love to teach the ancient Greeks. I taught several ancient Greek plays in advanced placement English literature. We usually read works by, the great three of the ancient Greek playwrights. I taught Aeschylus's Agamemnon, which was included in this volume of Greek drama. I taught Sophocles, Oedipus the King, and also Antigone. And I taught Euripides' Medea. My copies are kind of falling apart, but you get the idea. And today I would like to talk specifically about Medea. Euripides is believed to have been the youngest of the three great playwrights, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, and he's often considered, I think, perhaps the darkest. In his plays, he focuses on the oppressed. He focuses on women, on slaves, on foreigners, and not as minor characters. They're not background characters. These are the central characters of his plays. He also wrote about characters who questioned authority. Medea was probably first performed around 430 BC. Although we believe that Euripides wrote more than 80 plays, there are only 19 that have survived. Medea is certainly one of the most disturbing and the most popular. Medea is the story of a woman living in Corinth with her husband Jason, but she is not of Corinthian descent. Rather, she is a princess of Colchis. She is a sorceress and a worker of magic, and by some, she is also considered a barbarian. She is wronged in marriage by her husband, Jason, and she seeks the most incredible revenge imaginable. It may be the most incredible revenge story in all of literature. Now, the backstory of Medea that is important to the play is that she was from a group of people who lived at the farthest edges of the Black Sea. So basically, the most remote area of what was then the known world. This makes her other. This makes her very different, certainly from all the other characters in the play. She is a princess and she is a sorceress. She is also the granddaughter of Helios, the sun god. Now, Jason her husband is also a very famous character in all of the ancient lore. Jason was a powerful sea captain. He's a powerful Greek hero. He's the captain of the ship Argo. He leads his crew, the Argonauts, to Medea's land because he's searching for the golden fleece, which is kept under very careful guard by Medea's father, who is the king. It's a complicated story, but basically Jason has to come home with the golden fleece in order to claim his father's kingdom. There are traps set everywhere, making it all but impossible to obtain the golden fleece. But Medea decides to join forces with Jason instead of siding with her own family. And she even kills her brother in order to help Jason and to help him get away with the golden fleece. A whole bunch of other really awful things happen, but ultimately Jason gets the golden fleece, but he is ultimately prevented from living in his hereditary homeland, which is the kingdom of Iolcus. So he and Medea take off and they settle in Corinth. And then they have 2 sons. All of this happens before the action of the play Medea. This is the backstory, but a lot of it gets retold in Medea's story. When the play opens, Medea, she's given birth to 2 sons. They're little kids. They come on and off the stage. They're around, but they don't really have much of speaking parts, except for at one point in the play where we hear them from off stage. But we learn when the play begins that Medea has just learned that Jason has decided to take a new wife, a younger wife, a princess, and that Medea and their sons, the 2 boys, will be exiled from Corinth, mostly because the king, Creon, doesn't trust her. Very suspicious of her and the powers that she is known to have. Jason has no qualms about this. He has no qualms about, leaving his wife, taking a new wife, his wife being exiled, his sons being exiled with his wife. He's basically okay with all of this. Medea is granted 1 day, the period of 24 hours, in which to prepare for their departure. Instead, she uses this time to prepare for the most gruesome form of revenge imaginable. She does not plot the death of Jason. That, she thinks, would be too good for him. Rather, she wants to make Jason suffer. She wants to make him feel the pain that she's feeling, and she wants him to feel this for the rest of his life because she has been so humiliated. Throughout the play, there is also a chorus, and it's a chorus of the women of Corinth. They comment throughout the play on Medea's predicament as a woman scorned. And they also comment on her plans for revenge. Medea is able to exact from them a promise of silence. Thus, they watch the horrific events that are unfolding, but they don't really attempt to do anything to interfere. At times, they are very sympathetic to Medea because her predicament as a woman is actually not that uncommon. They can identify with her, and they do identify with her. At other times, though, they're really horrified by her and in fact disgusted by what they fear she's planning to do. At other times, though, they're sort of in awe of her. They're totally enthralled with her. They offer commentary throughout the action. They comment on Medea's predicament and about the injustices that befall women in general. The play deals with a lot of very important themes that gave us in AP literature many great topics to write about. We had great performances of the play, we had great discussions, and students were able to practice all of the AP style essays that they're required to write based on these themes. One important theme is the role of women in society. Euripides' focus on the role of women and the injustices that they suffered in Greek society is very sophisticated, and he was way, way ahead of his time. The play also focuses on the theme of the other in society. Medea is always treated as other, as exotic foreigner, as suspect barbarian, and therefore she is someone to be feared. We also explore the theme of exile. This is a theme that might be harder for modern audiences to appreciate, but it was certainly a central theme among the ancient Greeks. Medea has suffered exile for most of her life. She is exiled from her homeland at the play's beginning, largely because she sided with Jason against her father and her brother. But now in Corinth, when Jason decides to take on a new young wife, Medea will once again experience exile. So she, who has sacrificed everything for her husband, is now being cast aside and cast out again with no place to go, and she thinks no one that she can turn to. Now that also develops in the course of this one day. We also find out where she does plan to go and how, and who she's going to, ask for help. Perhaps most importantly, the play deals with the theme of revenge and what can be its kind of seductive appeal. Medea is willing to sacrifice everything to get revenge against this man who has hurt her, humiliated her, and betrayed her. Most famously, this play also exhibits the clearest example I can think of in all of literature of the concept of Deus ex machina. The term literally means God from the machine. In ancient Greek theater, it was common for actors playing Greek gods to be brought out onto the stage or lowered from the heavens, onto the stage, sometimes even by a crane-like machine, in order to resolve what seems to be an irresolvable problem at the end of the play. In literature, the term has come to mean really any unexpected, artificial, or improbable character or device that gets introduced into the plot seemingly out of nowhere in order to resolve the situation. Without going into too much detail about Medea, although I think it's a really, really well-known example, a very famous example of Deus ex machina occurs at the end of the play, literally out of nowhere, truly dropping out of the heavens. Something comes to rescue Medea and get her out of a devastating situation that she has created. We're going to be discussing Claudia Pineiro's novel, Time of the Flies, this week, and it relies heavily on Medea, the Medea story and this idea of the chorus of women. But Pineiro brings all of this into a very modern context. I'm really, really looking forward to our discussion of how Pineiro took this ancient story and worked it into her very modern novel, which is also a novel about scorned women, mothers and children, and revenge. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.